welcome to my channel. My name is Weston Boucher. If you're new here, click that subscribe button as I'm going to have new videos each and every week. So today I'm going to talk about how I go about dyeing my beard, as throughout the year as a professional model I have to sometimes look like I'm on the younger demographic for certain clients or shoots, maybe like early 30s, and then I have to go pushing into late 30s into early 40s. So because of that, I've tried to find a way to really make the dye look convincing. And if you don't want to dye, you want to do something less permanent, I'm going to have some tips at the end of this video as well for some other semi-permanent options that are pretty awesome, and they are waterproof as well. So another thing I might mention, my beard is typically almost all white. Like you'll see in this photo right here, that's how it normally looks. This is just some residual, since the beard has grown, of the previous dye job. It's a little bit darker here, but otherwise it's pretty white. So typically that can be really hard to get a filled out dye job, so I'm going to show you how to do that in a second here. And I'm also going to show you at the end of this link a couple of new videos that are going to be related to trimming your beard, how to groom it and everything, as this is not groomed right now, so you'll also be able to dye and get a really good clean look, finished look with that trim job. So without further ado, I'm talking too much, let's get to it. Alright, so a very crucial step that some people can overlook is that you have to wash your face before you start. This is so important because the natural oils that are in your skin and on your hair and your beard, that's going to repel the dye from taking hold to the hairs. So make sure you do a really thorough job of washing your face, or at least just the beard area, before you get started. Okay, the next really crucial step is choosing the right dye. And I don't just mean brand, but I like the Just For Men one. It's super affordable and it works really well. And if you're dyeing all year, that can add up to a lot of money. So anyways, all the things, by the way, that I mentioned in this video are gonna be in my Amazon shop link that's in the description, so you can get everything there. So anyways, what you want to do is you want to go with a shade that's actually lighter than the one that you want. So don't get the one on the box that, you know, is super dark if you don't want that. Because here's the thing, the reason is because even though it shows a kind of light, kind of reddish look, the way you get the dye to hold is by leaving it on much longer. And when you do that, it ends up being a lot darker than it's shown in this photo. So when I've gone too dark early on, when I first started doing this, I would have jet black, a jet black beard, because I had to leave it in longer for the gray to take. So that's my advice if you're graying or you have white hairs, that you have to leave it in longer for it to hold. If you don't have that issue and you just have a patchy beard and you just want to get more filled in, you should be able to do it in the suggested amount of time, how long you should leave it on. So the one I go with is M35. They have different codes on the side that can really help you remember to get the right one. This is the one that I also have in my link that I just mentioned. I've stuck with this one over the years, and it's always given me a really natural look that matches my particular hair color. So it might take a couple tries to get that, but you'll get it knocked out pretty easily. Just if it gets too dark and you can see it in the mirror as you're dyeing, just wash it out really quick and start over from there with a lighter shade. Alright, so another thing you want to have on hand before you get started are some alcohol-based wipes, or some sort of wipe that can wipe off the dye as you leave it setting, because you're going to end up, going over a little bit, and it will dye your skin, at least for the first day. So if you don't want people to pick up on that and see that, it's good to have these on hand. They're just little wipes. You could probably use rubbing alcohol, but I would use something that's just easier on your skin. It's not going to dry it out too much. Probably like a makeup remover wipe or something like that, and just wipe off the edges so you don't get that crazy clown look like you just dyed your beard. Alright, the last step before we can actually get started is to use a very new package of the dye, because you will get multiple uses out of one, but you don't want to let it sit for like, I don't know, a couple weeks, because you'll see when you open up the developer, actually not the developer, the dye itself, you're going to notice that it's darker than it normally was, the first time you used it. And I've noticed when you do that, the dye is not as strong and it does not take. So that can be an issue. So make sure it's a fresh pack when you go to do it. Okay, so within the box, you just get the color base, like I mentioned, and then the developer cream. that you mix together with this little brush in this little tray, and you need to start applying it almost immediately after you fully mix that because the dye will start to take fairly quickly. All right, so I'm going to take the color base, and I tend to just do, there's like this line in the middle of the tray that you can see. I tend to do just about the length of that, almost like a pinky finger worth. And then you match it equally with the developer on the other side. So you got about half and half. And you just mix it together. Make sure you're really thorough about this. You don't want to have these edges discoloration. It needs to be all one tone. That way you know that it fully develops and there aren't parts of your beard that end up remaining the same color they were. That's pretty much it. That's where you want it. I know it's kind of bright, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, so I am just gonna put on the residual that was on the edge of the brush, not to waste any of it, just in case I run out. I don't know, I put about that much on. You don't wanna get crazy with it or it's gonna hit your skin too much. So it's good to just kind of lightly do it at first. You'll feel the temperature, the coolness of the developer touch your skin, and that's okay. It's gonna dye your skin a little bit. So you gotta know that the first day you do it, the beard's gonna be darker than the second day because your skin's just a little bit dyed underneath. So you just wanna pretty much evenly do it everywhere like this. I like to get a little bit more aggressive in the thicker areas because the dye, you might think you have it all the way to the roots, but oftentimes you don't in the thicker areas of your face. So really push hard and get the bristles to go through like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and time lapse this so I don't bore you to tears in a second. But obviously just be thorough with it. Alright, so I'm a little over 5 minutes into applying at this point, and you can see the dye is already starting to take. The areas that you want the dye to take to most, where maybe it's the lightest or the patchiest, apply there first, obviously. So it's starting to get pretty dark, as you can see, really quick. And don't let that scare you, because I know it's got that like clown beard effect at first. But you can see where I started to like miss the mark a little bit. I've used all of it at this point. So now I'm gonna take these pads and I like to just go along where my beard line will be. Because like I said, I have a video later, link to that, for how I trim my beard, but I like to just leave the residual hair because it kind of acts as a little bit of a barrier or a buffer so the dye doesn't get my skin as much. There we go. And by the way, if you have some tips, leave them in the comments below. I don't know everything, always learning when it comes to grooming and stuff. This is what's worked for me thus far. But yeah, go ahead and leave some feedback. Always want to hear ideas from you guys. I mean, advice as well, and any input on future videos you might want to see. So, all right, so now I'm just gonna let that sit for a while. I think now I'm at the 8-minute mark, but I tend to leave it for, gosh, sometimes up to 15 minutes. It just depends on like how much white I have at the moment. I just, at a certain point it maxes out basically. So it's not gonna like get jet black, like I said, as long as you don't go with a shade that's, super dark to begin with. So like I said, this M35 is almost on the reddish lighter brown side. But as you can see, it's getting really dark because normally the suggested time that they have on the box, you want to rinse it out quicker, and obviously it doesn't take this dark. But this is what you got to do, like I said, if you have gray or white. But yeah, it's starting to come along. Let me get a closer look in this mirror here. Yeah, so I almost, had I not looked in the mirror to really check, it looks like it's too dark at this point, like I need to wash it out, but I can still tell it's misleading because my skin's dying underneath a little bit, but I can see white hairs or grayish hairs that aren't totally taking just yet. This portion of my face and over here are the hardest to get, so I'm just gonna wait it out here. Okay, almost ready. All right, so before you wash it out, make sure you get those areas that look like a complete, unnatural line where the dye brush hit. All right, so I think, yeah, we got to the 15-minute mark since I started applying. So what you want to do when you wash it out, it's really important that you use shampoo. Don't use the face wash or anything that's going to be a little bit more too intense, because just like if you were to dye your hair, you don't want to immediately just wash out what's trying to take. So I recommend something milder like a shampoo on your face. I could or could be wrong about that, but for me, I've noticed that if I use the face wash, it seems like it comes out a little bit more faded than I'd like. So yeah, here we go. Let's wash this out.
A few minutes later.
All right, so it's all washed out. I gotta say, it looks pretty good. I was worried a little bit because I wasn't doing it in the mirror like I normally do, so it's a little harder to apply, but you can see it looks pretty consistent all the way throughout. You can do a lot better job, like I said, if you're not doing it into a camera. But yeah, you saw my beard before, how white it was. This really took. So it's gonna be a little intense, like like I said, the first day. It's gonna thin out a little bit just because my skin won't be as dyed underneath, but it's gonna look even more natural. So another tip, so in case you didn't do a great job the first time around, always have on hand like just a brown mascara, or if you have jet black hair, really dark hair, obviously just go with black, but I like the brown because it's still pretty dark, and you can just take it and just lightly touch like a couple areas, and that'll sort that out in case you messed up the dye job a bit. Which brings me to my next tip, is I have a video in the description below, and at the end of this video it should overlay on how you can use mascara for the whole thing. And it looks actually really, really natural, and that's, I don't know, it's like 5 to 10 minutes, I can't remember how long. It can be pretty quick once you get good at it. And that's gonna be this waterproof mascara. You can find this anywhere, it doesn't have to be this particular brand. I do have one in my Amazon shop link that I like. And yeah, that is obviously not permanent, and you can wash off at the end of the day. And it is waterproof as well, so it's not gonna get on your clothes and stuff like that, and you're not gonna be able to tell. Another thing I recommend is just to have a beard brush on hand, just to really get an even look to it afterwards, brush it down. And yeah, that brings me to my next point. Like I said, I will have a hair trimming video that's going to pop up that I'm filming right after this one with my preferred trimmers that I use and how I keep it at this length and how I like to groom and get it really, really tight along the edges and everything. So check that one out. Other than that, let me see, there was probably one more thing. Oh yeah, so one of my videos that's been doing super, super well was how to style hair like a pro. Over the years as a model, I've been on set with some amazing stylists, so I've been learning the ropes from them, getting the products that they recommend, and certain blow dryers and combs and everything. And yeah, I'm able to style my hair pretty well just at home without taking much time at all. So check out that link too if you haven't watched that video. But again, I appreciate you guys stopping by. Sorry if this got a little lengthy. I tend to just talk way too much in my videos. I'm working on it, but anyways, hopefully that was helpful. Leave any questions on anything I might have left out. I'll try to get back to you guys. Make sure you subscribe before you go. And thank you again for stopping by. Really appreciate it, guys. See you next time. Oh, I knew I forgot something. I always forget something. Anyways, if you are interested in getting in the modeling industry at all, I do offer products about how to get started. Everything from finding an agency to getting your first test shoots done and everything in between. It can be a really intimidating type of work to get into early on. So hopefully that could be helpful for you guys. I do have other videos on my channel as well. They're all related to the modeling industry. And I also just released 2 ebooks that are fitness geared and how I stay in shape all year. They're called the Year-Round Six-Pack, How I Train, and the Year-Round Six-Pack, What I Eat. So that is going to dive into what I do all year long in terms of my exact cardio, the weight training, the exact diet, everything I eat all year to stay in shape for shoots, and all the last minute stuff where I gotta be able to take my shirt off and have a six-pack. It's not easy to maintain every year, all year, but there's a healthy, great way to do it that I recommend in my products. So download those. I also have a free one called How to Eat, Train, and Supplement Like Cover Model. After my recent cover with Men's Health, I was able to put together a lot of the stuff I learned from over the years into this one little downloadable to give the overarching concepts, which I also mentioned in the article at the time, and I kind of applied that into that product. So go ahead and grab that one, and stay tuned for the next video, guys. Thanks so much.
When you're on that tightrope,